Welcome to the wrap-up, a time where you can grab your favorite drink and listen to your favorite topic, packaging. Now here's your host, Adam Peak. This is not a live webinar, everybody. This is a recorded webinar. Maybe we'll figure out the live webinar thing and we'll get going. So we've got Valerie Hawks and Leah Cawthorn and Kelly Cobb and Avery Henderson from one of my favorite companies in the whole world, Interact Boulder. Welcome to the first ever edition of what this thing is going to be called. How about this? So this is not a normal webinar. You know, the webinar, like I'm getting a little webinared out. I don't know about you guys, but it's like, let's go to our next speaker. And they're like, how do I pull up my slides? Can you give me control, please? I need to pull up can you please give me, okay, thank you. I have 72 slides I'd like to go through. Okay, that's fine. But I wanted to do a webinar series where we could get packaging people together. We could enjoy some spirits, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, you don't have to. I live in Utah, so I might run across some people who don't particularly enjoy the alcoholic spirits, but that's fine. And just talk about a specific packaging topic. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's do a quick round of introductions. And then why don't you say kind of your name, what you do, and what you're drinking. And then we're going to do an unboxing experiment today with something that was given to me. And we're going to get into a fun topic. So I'm going to go on my screen. Looks like Valerie, you are to my Brady Bunch this side. You're on that side. So yeah.
I'm Valerie Hawks, and I am the head of production and sustainability with Interact Boulder. And I am drinking some Fit Vine.
Some what?
Some Fit Vine Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, so it's fitting right now because it's low sugar, hence the name Fit Vine.
Oh.
Lower sugar, lower calories, yeah.
Did you buy it because of the label, or did you buy it because of the low sugar and low calories?
Well, shameless plug, we did the label.
Hey-oh.
Of course, I have the label. But it's also good. Yeah, no, it's really good.
All right.
And low sugar, so.
Cool. Fit Vine?
Yeah.
It sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like a German wine. Drink the Fit Vine. I don't know. I took some German in high school. Kelly, you are next.
Awesome. I'm Kelly Cobb, and I am a senior designer at Interact Boulder. And I'm getting real wild tonic, some kombucha. So you caught me on like the one day I don't have a beer, so a little off brand, but
that's fine. If you had a beer, what would it be?
Probably Odell IPA.
Oh, solid choice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I went to the Colorado State University, the Harvard of the Rockies, and
there you go.
Big fan of the Odell.
Yeah.
Really,
I got married.
You
got married there, actually. I got married there. Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a commitment that I am not prepared to make. And I got married 18 years ago. I could barely drink, actually. I was 22 when I got married. So that's cool, though. Odell's a great company. Leah, you are next.
Hello, I am Leah Cawthorn. I am a designer at Interact, and I am drinking this delicious Kolsch from my absolute favorite brewery out in Colorado, Cellar West. So plug for them if they're watching this. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where in Colorado are they?
They're in Lafayette.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Which is like south of Boulder.
Yeah, it's where people live who can't afford to live in Boulder.
Pretty much.
Or is that Longmont now? I don't remember.
It's all of them.
It's all of them. It's everywhere. Awesome. Well, welcome, Leah. And then Avery, you are next.
Yep. I'm Avery Henderson. I'm the head of new business here at Interact, and I'm having a Clique, the beer of the Bahamas, because I'm in Nassau, Bahama right now.
Oh my gosh. That's unexpected. Is this vacation, or were you like, you know what, COVID, screw it, I'm going to the Bahamas?
It was a little bit of vacation last week, and then I'm at a friend's house and we were like, why leave right now? So we
Yeah.
just put-
Yeah,
So I'm still-
I'd stick around till after, like, I don't know, the 20th.
that's the benchmark.
I mean, just if I had to pick a day, yeah.
Yeah.
Might be not a bad day to come back.
Not be in the US on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're here. So so I'm Adam Peak, and I do business development at Fortis Solutions Group. We work with like labels and shrink sleeves and flexible packaging, which is fun and exciting. I was given, so I got to see Hamilton like on Broadway, which was awesome. And so my family got me this Alexander Hamilton glass, and it's empty because my sister I turned 40 in 2020, one of the positive things of 2020, except I couldn't really have a birthday party. So she got me this Gold Bar premium blend of whiskey. And literally she said to me, I don't know if it's any good, but I thought the packaging was cool. And I thought, sure. So why not open it up with some packaging people and we can see what's going on. So this has like a security label on it. Not sure if it's going to pop up. You guys listen, this is already a problem. Okay, good news though. It's a paper label, so it broke right off. This is a bottle. So I've got a lot number on this thing, which is kind of fun. This is a little annoying. You guys, this is
as heavy as it looks.
What's that?
It looks heavy. Is it heavy?
It's super heavy. Yeah, I don't know. If it's made out of actual gold, then I'm retiring because I think I've got, oh, wait. Oh,
There you go.
okay. So what do we have in here? Okay. A little disappointed, you guys, but this is plastic. I mean, I guess you weren't going to get away from it. And then it's like some kind of metal. It's interesting. And then, all right, well, that wasn't so bad. Do you know that sometimes I buy wine like I look for the screw caps on wine because I'm so lazy when I want to drink wine, I don't want to get out the bottle opener. I'm like, can you just make it easy? All right, so yeah, Gold Bar Premium Blend is what I'll be having today. Not a ton because it's 5:15 in the afternoon. So anyway, that's what I'll be drinking, and we'll see if it's any good. So here's cheers to packaging and talking about fun things. The Gold Bar is pretty delicious. I bet this packaging costs like $10 a bottle, so I'm not sure how much it was, but they were not thinking.
Packaging to liquid cogs on that thing is going to be pretty skewed. Yeah. So it's a thing. It's really good though, for what it's worth. So, I had said before, I sent out the invite to this webinar and I was like, hey, I don't know what to call this thing. And I came up with a kind of a cheesy, like lifting your packaging spirits webinar series, but, do you guys have any thoughts? Like because this is what you do, like you're doing design and business development and production stuff and things like that. So you're clearly more creative than I am. Maybe we should wait till the end after we've had a few more libations, but I don't know. Any thoughts to the name for this webinar series? No, nothing. Not yet.
I'm big on
Not
puns,
yet.
but I don't have a pun right now. Puns are my favorite.
Okay, well, think about, they are fun. I do enjoy a good pun. Yeah, I was trying to think, like, I've got a friend who does day drinking with Ronell. That's his thing. That's pretty fun, but I don't know. We'll think of something. Maybe when something comes up to your mind, you're in the middle and you have like that epiphany moment. We can get into it. So here's kind of what I wanted to talk about for, we'll call it 15 to 20 minutes. Just so you know, if you're watching this webinar, this is not going to be an hour and a half long commercial for either Fortis or for Interact Boulder, but I can guarantee you at the end of this webinar, you're going to want to talk to the people at Interact Boulder. That's a guarantee because they do some really cool stuff. So your tagline is designing for consequence. Is that appropriate to say a tagline or an ethos, or I don't know, what's the
Yeah, like a mantra.
Yeah.
a mantra? I like it. So the mantra is design for consequence. I've said that multiple times. I think it's great because it's simple, it's profound, and it's also directive, right? Like it provides direction on how you guys design and how you find business and things like that. But we're still in the middle of this global pandemic. And so what I wanted to talk about with you guys, and maybe we can just kind of do a roundtable. It doesn't have to be like you talk for 2 minutes and you talk for 2 minutes, but maybe Kelly, since you're having kombucha, you'll get the short end. You should have got the Odells. I'm just saying.
Should have.
So maybe you can kick it off. And how have you guys had to go through, like, because consequence is a future state, but the future has been kind of murky and unknown. So when you're working with brands, like, how did those conversations shift at all, or what's that been like from a design perspective for packaging?
Yeah, I think that design, packaging, whatever it may be, reflects a lot of what's going on in the real world, right? You need to be sensitive of what's going on. You need to make sure that you're not culturally appropriating anything. You need to make sure you're having the right conversations with the right people, and not just designing for design's sake. And yes, you're selling a product, but you're creating a brand. You're creating something that people connect with. And I think that the more that you can speak to that and have empathy and create those bigger conversations, the more people will start to gravitate towards your brand or to your packaging or whatever. And it can be at a superficial level, but I think that's okay. I think it's a start, and it's a start to a conversation.
Interesting. And Avery, do you kind of liaison, I guess, between if I was Gold Bar Premium Blend whiskey, is that kind of you have to kind of, are you responsible sort of to take the conversations and then bring them into Kelly and Leah and Valerie and kind of be a voice for them?
Sure. It's because like a lot of what I do is like, first off, like the interesting thing with sort of how we define consequence here is like usually consequence is like a negative thing. Like these are the consequences of your actions. And we sort of define it in that terms, but what is the consequence a brand can have within its marketplace? What is the consequence a brand has in its consumers' lives? So how can we integrate it further into consumers' lives? How can we make it move the needle in the competitive set that it's in? And so a lot of what we do, and specifically my role, is like understanding what is the consequence that we need to establish for the brand in a future state and where they're moving to in the marketplace. And then how can we translate that into tangible terms for the team to be able to brief into and transition into strategic positioning and into design and into packaging and into the brand, so that the brand itself can sort of increase its consequence in market, in share of mind of the consumer in all of those places.
Yeah, it's funny because my dad kind of raised me on this idea that all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. And I think about the idea of consequence kind of in a similar way, where it's like, like, as I have five children. And so I talk to my children a lot about like, hey, you're going to have a consequence. And there is a negative connotation to that, right? So, but there are positive consequences as well. Obviously, like it's just like, what actions are you taking now, and what will that yield out in the future? So it's a great point to, to kind of bring that up. Leah, I'm curious, like so you and Kelly are kind of working together. Is that correct?
Yes, been a little bit weird COVID times, not getting to spend as much time designing together, but in normal times, yes, certainly so.
Okay, cool. And do you guys work, sorry, I forgot to ask this. Do you guys primarily work with like food and beverage companies? Is that sort of the primary?
Yes, that's definitely the primary. Avery can speak a little bit more to this, but we've gotten into some cannabis spaces and CBD spaces. but largely food and beverage day
Yeah.
to day.
Our like joking thing is it's like it's intimate categories, things that go on or in the body.
Oh, okay.
So things you eat, and topicals you apply, and supplements you consume. It's just fun to say it like that.
Yeah, that is
Get some
fun.
weird eyebrow raises on calls.
You guys are definitely gonna come up with a fun name for this webinar series, by the way. You have like great and awesome things, and it'll come up. So then when it comes to, we'll just talk about like food and beverage for right now. So the food and beverage market was hit like all markets were hit, right? Like there were surges and there were things like that. Did you find that one of the consequences of that was there greater attention to brand since like March of last year? Were people more wanting to jump on and make sure, or was it like, hey, we just need to make sure that our product is in the store so that people can buy it, or we just need to make sure that we have an e-commerce strategy right now? Do you guys do, things like that with brands in terms of go-to-market strategies, or is it primarily branding? Or I don't know. I think the food space is so interesting because it got disrupted so heavily. Some brands just exploded and others couldn't pay their bills. So
On some of that, a big part of that was early on in COVID was the supply chain distribution disruptions. And so there were a lot of brands that had the stuff and wanted to get it out there and they couldn't get it on shelf. And so other brands sort of emerged because of that, because it's like, oh, this regular thing that I buy isn't here. Let me buy this thing. And so a different brand would be popular now because something just couldn't get on the shelf. I think obviously that's leveled out and the supply chain isn't as disrupted, but it was definitely an interesting curve, I think, for brands to deal with.
Yeah, and it was also influenced heavily by the retailers and distributors needing to focus on larger brands that were able to maintain supply. So if it was safer for a retailer to say, you know what, we're going to sacrifice this shelf space to these 3 smaller brands that are going to run into supply chain issues over the next X number of weeks, in lieu of a larger company that's going to always be able to maintain supply chain in the area. They made a lot of those decisions, and it made it, sort of in tandem with what Val was saying, where sometimes larger brands fell off and other ones sort of got a lot of heavy growth. In contrast to it, some small brands that like newer entrants had an extremely hard time getting on shelf this year because retailers needed to over prioritize larger brands at the same time in certain spaces too.
yeah, that
like
makes
a very big ebb and flow of the market with regards to new entrants and context of legacy brands.
And are you guys seeing any of that level off from your end? Has there been, or there has been?
Yeah, definitely. Just supply chain across the board has been pretty uniform now that like purchasing habits have normalized. I think like purchasing consistency is normalized more. People definitely like larger mainstay multinational CPG brands like Nestle and Kraft and Mondelez have seen more growth this year across the board. I think primarily than most any other year.
Mm-hmm.
So people are basically buying comfort nostalgia still. But generally speaking, it has normalized, at least with regards to new entrant to retailer accessibility.
Got it. All right, so this is going to be a design question, and then I have a sustainability question. So here's my design question. I get asked this frequently. People think that I know about packaging design, and let me just put a PSA out there, like the rainbow should come over. It says like, the more you know. I don't know anything about graphic design for packaging. That's not my background. I don't know much about it. But when we talk about designing for consequence, how do you, for Leah and Kelly, how do you guys design for kind of balance like the e-commerce direct to consumer design experience versus the retail I'm competing on shelf design experience? And has that shifted, and what impact has COVID had on those discussions in terms of the appearance and the design? Go ahead, Leah. You clicked off mute first.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was primarily one of the first conversations we had as an agency once COVID hit. It was like, we need to really be thinking about how we can adapt and how can we offer up different opportunities for clients, different buying experiences for clients. In certain instances, you know, it depends on the brand. The actual creation of the design doesn't necessarily have to change too much. We focus a lot on like category disruption, and there are certain instances where on shelf or on like a tiny thumbnail, that disruption is still visible. So it sort of depends on the brand and the category, but I think we've definitely tried to take a lot of that into account in terms of like, you're not able to pick it up obviously on an e-commerce situation. So really getting some of those little like details and fun little Easter egg pieces that we love to put in there, you might not get to experience as much. So, you know, trying to strip back the things that aren't necessarily as important on that first purchase and just getting those initial important information pieces out there to start is definitely like bigger e-commerce thinking. And then how can that experience open up once you actually get it in hand? So yeah, Kelly, you can feel free to elaborate.
Yeah, that's interesting.
No, that's a great answer. There's a great opportunity in both physical packaging and then digital packaging. You know, it's there's so many more opportunities when it comes to digital, whether it's on Amazon and you're going to have extra thumbnails and you can have all these descriptions that you don't necessarily get on shelf. So like Leah said, number one priority, category disruption. How do you stand out? How do you find the white space? And what's the story that you want to tell? But yeah, it does shift slightly, whether that's digital or physical.
Or both, right? I mean, it
Mhm.
seems like anymore, I mean, you've got big, you mentioned Avery, like Nestle and Mondelez and these big giant companies that they all of a sudden had to come up with a direct to consumer model because their customers were Kroger's and Walmart's and things like that. And now because of the disruption, I know quite a few of them had to kind of pivot and shift and move to get their brands ready for more of an e-commerce thing. And the Amazon is fascinating me for multiple reasons, but one is in fact the kind of the thumbnails and the packaging on the site, but also like they put every one of your competitors right down below. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that's on the retail shelf as well, but this is like, you might also like, and it's not just, hey, here's another box. Let's say it's, you know, a cereal aisle. It's not just a visual thing, but it's here's their reviews. Here's how many reviews they've had. This one qualifies for Prime. Here's their price point. And it's wild because not only that, now they have all their own brands. So you're actually giving your competitor all of your information on your sales when all you do is sell on Amazon. So it's just this fascinating case study to me. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. So I kind of wrapping up that design question. The answer is probably it depends, right? Is that about right for Kelly and Leah? Like depends on the brand strategy, and there's no one answer. Like I'll get questions like, how important is the unboxing experience? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I can't, like I do sales. So it's like, just buy the most expensive thing, I guess, and cross your finger. No, I'm just kidding. I don't ever say that. But, you know, so do you guys get into that? Like data analytics in terms of increasing customer delight when they open? Like I'll be honest, and I'm not trying to put these guys on blast. I did not enjoy this unboxing experience for this thing. That was not delightful. You know what I mean? Like it was, I kind of just wish there were some perforations there. I didn't have to get a pen and cut it and do all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Do you guys, that is a consequence, right? Like that's a design of consequence. It's a structural design. Is that something that you guys consider as well?
Yeah, we don't get super nitty gritty into the analytics and all of that. It's more at a somewhat superficial level, but I think it's more about intuition, right? What would you want as a consumer? How do you want to open this package? What's that little Easter egg like Leah was talking about? So we make sure that when we're designing a package that we're utilizing every single component that we can. So if there's a flap that lifts up, what, could it say something to you? Is there an extra little nugget? Should it continue the brand voice, whatever it may be, something on the bottom? So I think just adding that like touch of humanity, and just having the consumer feel like you've actually thought through it and the brand is trying to interact with them is a nice touch.
Yeah, that last part about the brand was what I was going to mention as well. Like, there is a difference between packaging, design, packaging, and a brand and branding. Like we sort of live at that intersection, where most brands we work on will have a packaging output. That's what we do. But we really want to think about this brand as if it's a person. So how would that person communicate with you? And not every project that we do requires something that is going to be speaking to the client, like in a DTC unboxing experience kind of way. But when we do get those opportunities, it is really an important factor to just think through all the different places that we can sell you who we are and explain to who we are as a brand, and sort of get you to come back for more and enjoy those little pieces. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I do think the negative aspects of it, like you didn't like having to cut open that safety seal on that bottle. We do hear about it in cases like if in a caddy where it's perforated and it's going to tear off and open up and be the shelf display. If those perforations are too far apart and it's ripping off part of the design, like the outside of the caddy, we'll hear about that and then we'll have to figure out how to fix that. So in that sense, if there are issues with the unboxing, like eventually it makes its way back to try to fix it and at least make it a more delightful experience.
Yeah.
We all want delight.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think anybody is sitting around saying, how can I make this miserable? Except when it's like security, like when it's I've used this example before, but I bought a pack of scissors and it was in the plastic clamshell that was like vacuum sealed that you needed scissors. And I'm like, I needed scissors. I don't have them. Why are you requiring me to obtain scissors to open up the packaging to get this? It was at Lowe's. It was very confused. But yeah, I mean, what's that?
That's a great example.
It was so bad. It's really rough. Okay, so my final point, and then I actually want to also talk. So I want to ask about sustainability in terms of consequence, because there's a lot of that happening that we need to recover from. And but I'm also, you guys launched a brand like as a consequence, and I think that is super fascinating. So I do want to ask a final question about that. But so everywhere I go now, like single-use plastic and single-use packaging has completely taken over a lot of places, and it's in the name of safety. And I don't want to necessarily get into this and, hygiene and stuff like that. But to me, and I know Valerie, this is something that you and I have talked about at length, and that is a passion, and I'm sure also for you guys, Lisa and Kelly and Avery. But to me, there has to be some sort of reckoning. There has to be some sort of like, well, okay, we did that for a short period of time, but what does this look like now for brands who maybe have gotten used to the single serving sachets for convenience or for hygiene or for, whatever it is. Like I think of like a ketchup brand or a salsa brand in a store, and you can't touch the same thing and pour salsa on your stuff. I just feel like there's going to be there's obviously already a consequence to our poor decisions, right? We're all in the middle of that from a global warming standpoint. But what are you guys doing, not just from a design standpoint, in terms of communicating sustainability, but Valerie, what are some things that you work with your guys' customers on from an actual sustainability? What I mean by that is, like, you can say it's sustainable, but how do you guys get involved with that strategy? Because I've always found that to be interesting. And as the level of importance continues to rise with every year that we go along.
Well, I think definitely with COVID, things got put on hold. Climate goals got put on hold. Single-use plastic was necessary. I mean, I was actually bagging my produce in the grocery store, which I hadn't done for years at the start of COVID. And then information came out that you're less likely to get it through surfaces. So don't have to do that as much anymore. I think it's important to just keep forward with the messaging as we learn new things. Like, we don't have to wear rubber gloves. We don't have to use all of this single-use stuff. Just wash your hands and use hand sanitizer. And I think a big part of that will come into messaging. A lot of the climate goals, everything will pick back up. And I think brands will have to get back on board with the train that was moving quite fast ahead of 2020. Everybody was jumping on it. Like, we have this goal by 2025, or we have this goal by 2022. And they're going to have to pick that up again, because it's going to keep moving. And we get involved. Obviously, our main focus is design of the package. A lot of times, brands or clients come to us and they already have their package figured out. We're just designing what's going to go on it. But we do have the ability, and often do, step in and say, how can we make this more sustainable? Or the most important thing is, how can we adjust the messaging to tell people what to do with this package at the end of its life? Because if it's, there's a tricky thing of, we had this the other day of, there's a type of label, and you probably know this, but the name is escaping me right now, where it's, your container is plastic and you have a plastic label and they melt the label into it.
In mold.
In mold, yes. And it makes sense. It's descriptive.
Yeah. We're not, like I said, I can't even name the webinar. So we're not super, we're like, this label is going to go inside of a mold, which we call it in mold. We're also we're the same group who named Dora the Explorer's map song. So we came up with that as well. I'm a map, I'm a map, I'm a map, I'm a map, I'm a map.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. in mold.
An in mold label. There you go.
An in mold. So by their nature, both of those things are recyclable. Combined, two separate pieces, they're not. And so or it may not be, but sometimes we need to ask those questions and figure it out, because it might be doing more harm than good to say it's recyclable and have people try to recycle something that's not actually going to get recycled, and that's going to clog up the material facility. So it's just trying to figure out how we can help the most with messaging. And then in the most basic way, we know there's a shortage of aluminum. We are still doing a ton of cans. And a lot of our brands are smaller and can't afford to print directly on the can. So we're doing sleeves. Just adding a perf and telling them to tear it off, I think, is one of the most important things that we can do, because the amount of cans that aren't recycled is terrifying, especially with the aluminum shortage that we have. And then we actually, as a whole agency, did a tour of a materials recycling facility, a MRF, last year, where we learned like the cold hard truths about how all of this works, and that the more labels that are put into the incinerator with the aluminum, like it not only clogs it up, they'll like catch fire.
Catches fire, I know. Like the facility catches on fire. It's crazy.
We were able to sway a client who, just by telling them that, he really did care about being sustainable. But I actually think it was even Avery who went back and said, hey, we found out this actually catches fire. He was like, oh, we can't do that. That's not going to happen. We're going to fix that. And so we have the ability to step in. It's just, it's asking questions continually.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, Avery, that as you're kind of dealing with, like, I've never had somebody say, just like with the unboxing experience, like, we just want this to be miserable. I've never had somebody be like, yeah, we actually want the least sustainable option. If you can slide us into that, like, is there a baby whale skin varnish that we can use, and like some penguin blood inks? You're like,
time. Yeah.
That was disgusting, by the way. I'm sorry I said that, but like, I don't ever get these questions. But so you guys are able to, even though you're doing, like Valerie had said, the design work and the branding work, but it has to be part of that whole conversation, right? Is, well, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to have a negative consequence at the end of your packaging life, like MRFs catching on fire, or do you want a positive one, like that not happening?
Yeah, it's something we definitely try to find opportunities for with the clients that we currently have or that we're looking to take on. And it's, yeah, definitely something we consider when we, focus on who we're going to select as brands that we want to work with as well. And also recognizing that a brand's, journey to being a more sustainable brand isn't just the packaging substrate that they're using, and that it's much more of the ecosystem that goes into all facets of their supply chain. And recognizing that, some early stage brands, the only options that they have won't be the most sustainable one. And, though not ideal, that's okay. And if they can make improvements in other facets of their business, that's a great step for them too. So, it's being self-aware that at the end of the day, our end product is a waste product as an agency. And so as much as we can do to help coach our brands to make informed decisions, so whatever information we learn, we pass on to our clients, and the brands that we work with is something that we, take seriously here because, as I said, we know our end product is a waste product, and as much as we can do to reduce our footprint via the partners that we have is something we take into account.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's put a little lovely ribbon on this, sustainable ribbon, obviously, made from compostable materials. So you
Not
guys
from
launched
baby whales.
not from baby whales. No, we didn't. We didn't skin any cats. We didn't put cats in boxes either. So I feel like we've avoided some business cliches. So you guys launched a product. I want you to tell the world, i.e. the 10 people, maybe 20. I don't know how many people will watch this. We'll see. But I've had some of the hand sanitizer, and it is, I will just say this out loud. It does not smell awful. It smells nice. It doesn't smell like sanitizer. Like literally, like I said, I have 5 kids. I've got the traditional van, the white van that the kids all pile out of. So they come in, and we had the spray stuff that we bought, and I don't know what the smell was, but it was pungent, and it was all over our van all the time. So I was super excited when I used your guys' as cleanly. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And it was like a rosemary and a word I couldn't pronounce, but it was what is it?
Yuzu.
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 What's yuzu? I don't know.
It's like it's like
A Japanese citrus fruit.
Thank you. I was going to say citrus.
Yeah,
I'm picturing it.
It's like a Japanese lemon. And I'm sure Japanese people are rolling their eyes at me, but
I will be stoked if there are Japanese people watching this webinar. So, all right, yeah. So where do people go to pick up this delightful, lovely hand sanitizer? I know I said this wouldn't be a commercial, but I really do want it. This is like a public service announcement, because it's like there's some really nasty hand sanitizer out there, and you don't have that. So
No, and I've given it out to friends too that are like, holy cow, this smells amazing, because it really genuinely does. Online at cleanly.co, and then also at Alfred's in LA.
of course,
The Alfred stores.
What's an Alfred store in LA?
And Alfred is like, it's like a Whole Foods ish. Anybody help me?
I think they're a coffee.
Alfred's is a coffee shop. Alfred Coffee. They're like little coffee like market cafes.
Interesting.
And they have in the same way that like a Starbucks has like a small retail sort of out front of other brands, they have it as well. And they just have a pretty cool like app ordering interface at their retail locations, because you can't go inside right now because of COVID. So it's all sort of order from a counter, and a lot of it's done through the app that they have for ordering as well. But some of the aim is to figure out sort of what retail entrance we want to have. So what places and markets can we partner with to sponsor sort of the hand sanitizer stations when people walk in, so that it can be paired with an experience of usage when people are being introduced to the brand for the first time, as a way to build trial, especially because hand sanitizer products and cleaning products, like personal hygiene products like that in general, but especially hand sanitizer, you can't advertise on Facebook for it because you can't advertise something that is like can kill COVID, because everyone and their mother would just like sell
People who
snake
spraying it in
oil,
their
do
mouth.
that.
You're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. Like if you inject bleach into the body, it fixes it. So like it's sort of like that thing of like, you can't do it for those reasons. So we're just getting creative with sort of like, what are the ways you want to build trial around a brand that is commonly purchased as an impulse buy at a point of purchase retail environment, for instance. So it's like, how do you build credibility, validation of experience and all of those things through who you partner with and where you launch.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, and what a cool experience for you guys at Interact Boulder, because now you've seen it, you've been able to go through the entire process of product development, and from ideation to realization, now you're dealing with distribution and stuff like that. I'm sure it's really, I would imagine it's made you significantly better as not only designers, but strategists and, brand strategists and things like that. So that's super cool. And I'll make sure to kind of put a link to the Cleanly. It ends with an I, right? So it's CLEANLI.
Mhm.
Like cleanly, like cleanliness.
Oh, there, Leah's got it.
I got mine right here too.
Oh, I don't
Same
have
with
mine.
mine.
It's in the van. So, well, that's awesome. Well, I think we're at about 30 something minutes ish. So, thanks for giving this a whirl and chatting about design and consequences. And we got a little philosophical. Did you guys come up with a good name for this, or am I going to be left out here on an island?
Pour yourself a cup of package.
Wow, that was really rough, Valerie.
That was rough.
That was, you need some more fit time.
Do the wrap up.
Oh, the wrap up.
That's
Pretty good.
Mine was terrible.
That was so bad.
so bad.
Val just wanted to say package.
Pour yourself a cup of package.
Yeah. Can you just call it nice package? And,
No, I can't.
but are you sure?
Oh man, that's I'm pretty.
That's a nice package.
The nice packet. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of phallic jokes that go along with packaging, and I'm would prefer to avoid them. I mean, if at all possible. But yeah, the wrap up
is good because it's also at the end of the day and you're having a drink. It's like
exactly. I like it. Cool.
Avery?
Well, Avery, I'll give you the I'll give you some credit, and I'll send you a free sticker or something like that.
Excellent.
But not to the Bahamas. That's too expensive. So you got
to. Yeah. I'll be back on next week.
All right, sweet. Well, right on, guys. So how do people get in touch with Interact Boulder when they are like, these people are super rad and I need them to work on my project? What's the way?
Email me.
Email Avery?
Yeah. You can just go to our website, basically, which is interactboulder.com. I'm Avery at interactboulder.com. And then there's contact information via our site as well. Sweet. Good deal. Well, Kelly, Leah, Valerie, Avery, this was fun. Thanks. Thanks for coming on and talking about packaging and enjoying some adult beverages. It was great. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. Join us next month as we enjoy some drinks and talk about packaging.